Morning Express on mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Welcome to the Morning Express on mainland 98.3 FM.
And welcome to Trends in the Papers on mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Time check right now is 7:41 a.m. It's time for us to look through the major trending stories on the front pages of our papers. We have our papers here, The Punch, The Guardian, and Vanguard newspaper. All right, well, it's the first Friday in the month of September, and the month of September, of course, is the last month in the third quarter. So there's still a lot to, put out there. And if you have set goals for yourself for this quarter, I think it's about time for you to start putting yourself in order, start doing some self-appraisal. Just start checking yourself. Where have I gotten to? Where am I going? And what is still left for me to do? All right. But, even as we also understand that there's quite a lot that's going on out there as regards, people trying to get to work. The reports coming in now is that a lot of people who stay on the island now have to look for somewhere, cluster up, and just have some sort of roof over their head just for the week, and then they find their way home on Friday. Everyone is just at this point struggling to survive one way or the other. There's no one that is not caught in this web, except of course our leaders, who are one way or the other probably far from the reality of the average Nigerian. But it is it's one rainfall on every single person. It's affecting everyone. It's affecting food, it's affecting health, it's affecting education. The children are resuming on Monday. Don't even get me started on school fees. Don't get me started on school bus, because some of our parents, we engage the services of the school bus, trying to ensure that we relieve ourselves of getting our kids to school. It's just a lot on on people at this time, and that's why it's important for us to be kind. A word of kindness, a word of encouragement would go a long way to that neighbor, to that friend, to that colleague of yours, to someone that you see, or you see someone whose head is down. Try to lift it up one way or the other. Yes, Fuhad would always say take care of yourself, but if you have the capacity, if you have the means to take care of someone else, don't do past yourself, of course, but I mean, if you have the capacity, if you have the means, you can just do something small, something little, just as one of our Yoruba program, our indigenous programs on Saturday at Tommy, My Rights, anchored by Nuruddin Adigbero and Olua Twain. It's a program that out of it, they've been able to, carve a segment where, they give out 5,000 naira every Saturday, okay? And it started last week, and it's been quite interesting. We've gotten a lot of requests, and because all you have to do is send your account number, and there are other, modalities involved, of course. But it just shows, the back end, where we get all of these account numbers, at the back end, it just shows that there are a lot of people who are actually going through quite a lot. You need to tune into the program. It's 12 p.m. To 2 p.m. every Saturday on mainland 98.3 FM at Tommy. So you can just tune in tomorrow, and who knows, you could also be a part of those who would, be a beneficiary of that particular initiative. All right, let's bring Fuhad on board. My name is Omobola Sandra. I have Fuhad Saheed, who joined virtually to give analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning from the front pages of our papers. Of course, across the papers this morning, it is still on the fuel conversation. And there had been hope. I don't know. I'm trying so hard not to use that word, because I understand that, it's a very touchy, touchy and sensitive word for a lot of people when they just hear hope, But, there had been hope. Everybody was expectant. A lot of people were expectant. And here we are. Look at what we are all going through. I don't know. Fuad, good morning. Don't know if you have Fuad already.
Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning. I'm well, thank you very much. The situation out there, I've never seen Lagos as well. I have, all right. Let me not exaggerate, but it's really, really it's empty out there.
It's tense, empty and tense, really. If it's empty because it's a public holiday or because
exactly
there's something, maybe public holiday, people are just at home resting, enjoying family time, it would have been a different conversation. But we're talking about empty streets because, again, a lot of motorists are still clustered in one petrol station or the other, hoping to get fuel at a very, very expensive price. You also have situations where people have just parked their cars at home, really. People are missing offices. People are not able to go to work. The idea of remote work has become a major conversation now for employers and employees. And like you rightly pointed out, for people who reside on the mainland and work on the island, people are now even sleeping in offices. People are also looking for friends and relatives who stay on the island that they can support. Families are being separated. Probably you just see your husband or wife once a week, really. So people are just finding a way to survive the period, the avoidable, painful situation that we found ourselves. And in the midst of all of that confusion, pain, suffering in the minds of ordinary Nigerians, you have the information managers of government who are getting Nigerians more confused about the situation. Too many inconsistencies in their statements, a lot of lies and propaganda, a lot of misinformation and deliberate disinformation. The more Nigerians are hoping to get clarifications, truth, openness, the more they get confused about the inconsistencies and the back and forth when it comes to information management from this particular government. Sandra, very, very unfortunate. Not seen anything like this before.
It brings me back to a certain, I don't know what to make of that now. A certain statement from our president, then candidate of the APC, brings me back a bit. So, Fuad, I'll just take you back a bit, and let's just be a little. I just want to be a little bit mischievous this morning and see, maybe we misinterpreted, maybe we misunderstood, maybe we can break down and analyze and see. Maybe we are the ones that are getting it wrong. But yeah, we are lost in translation somewhere. All right. So just okay. Oh, lost something there. All right, just give me just a few seconds, Fuad.
All right.
Let be poor, breathe. Don't suffocate them. We have that responsibility.
All right, Fuad. That's the voice of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as candidate of the APC when he was, vying for the position of the president. I mean, with that statement, and the interesting part of that particular statement, he made it he was standing beside the president, then president, former president Muhammad Buhari, made that statement there. It was his administration. And also, what exactly do you think has gone wrong from Muhammad Buhari into, this administration? Is the poor breathing now? Is Mr. President ensuring that the poor is breathing? Does Mr. President even know if the poor is breathing?
Well, I've seen people who have said that, look, when it comes to political campaign, they are done in poetry. But governance itself is done in prose. It's clear, really. So, again, half of the things you hear politicians say during campaigns are just mere statements, really. Sometimes statements to get people excited, sometimes statements just to make the headlines. And that, a lot of times they don't really even mean what they are saying. They don't even understand what they're saying. These are just statements that are thrown into the air, for people to continue to chew on and deal with. But when it comes to real governance, where we now begin to talk about the principles of practice and effective implementation of ideas and policies, we now understand that, look, a lot of the things that have been said are just mere words, empty words, really, without any meaning or consequences.
I have another one to play, but
all right.
Just stay with me.
Kosi, ọgbọ́n dàkúdàpọ̀ lọ́wọ́ wọn. Wọ́n lè ní kò sépo, wọ́n ti ń dọ́gbọ́n dá ọ̀rọ̀ kò sépo lẹ̀ gbàgbé ẹ̀. Ẹ lọ fọkàn balẹ̀. Èmi aṣíwájú mo sọ fún yín, ọ̀rọ̀ ìbò yẹn á parẹ́ ní. Ẹ lọ fọkàn balẹ̀. Ẹ lọ fọkàn balẹ̀. Wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ epo. Epo àwọn á di 200, á di bàbá. Ẹ fọkàn balẹ̀. Àmàgbé wálẹ̀. Ẹ lọ fọkàn balẹ̀.
What? Ṣọ́kàn wa balẹ̀ báyìí. Are we? Our mind no touch ground.
This coming, really.
Our mind no touch ground. Nobody's mind is touching the ground at this time. Fuad. Because the president promised us, he said, oh, they said the fuel is going to be just, for a non-Yoruba.
He even mentioned some figures.
He mentioned figures.
He mentioned some figures. He listed very well.
He said 200, 500. Calm down. Put your heart to the ground. It's going to be fine. He even mentioned his name. He said, Emi Ashiwaju, and he said...
So, swearing in his own honor and name, really.
Yeah, that's just basically it. And he just giving some sort of assurance to Nigerians, so not to worry. And the confidence, in which he gave that statement. And here we are now.
That assurance.
Well, people are buying fuel as high as 1,500.
Over 1,000, Sandra. Over 1,000, depending on your location, actually, in the country. And like I told you again, I'm sure some of these reports are already in the papers. It's not over yet. We are not at the end of it all, Sandra, when it comes to these high prices. Because again, you have the NNPC now eventually in their statement admitting that they know about the price adjustments we are seeing, even though they are now claiming that it's a regulated market. It's still a continuous lies from our NNPC. These are guys who really don't care. I must tell you, Sandra. They are overfed. They are overpaid, they are overpampered, so they are so completely detached from the reality of Nigerians. They don't even know what they're doing. When you look at some of them, you understand that these guys don't even understand what's going on. They pay them. In those days when we used to talk about armed robber salary, these are people you overpay really for doing practically nothing other than coming to give Nigerians excuses. But if you look at what they are saying, if you're going to go by what they are now telling Nigerians, we're in a situation where the prices are still going to go up. Dangote was telling you that Fed fulfills its own prices now. But the information we are getting now is that, look, they are going to allow him to fix his prices. The NNPCL is also in the conversation. And they are talking about the impact of Forex, that whatever the prices of Dangote refinery petrol will be, the factor of foreign exchange will also come in. And if we're looking at 1,650 as the price, as what you get for $1 to naira to $1, then that should tell you that, look, eventually the PMS of Dangote may be selling well over 1,000 naira. So whatever adjustments we have, which the NNPC is telling us, is that it's not even it's not reflective of what the cost of PMS per liter would be. If you're going to be looking at the dollar factor and the foreign exchange factor when it comes to cost of production and the landing cost. A lot of confusion, a lot of unfortunate situations, from these guys who are managing these very sensitive sector in our lives as the people. Very, very unfortunate. But again, I'm sure we'll dig into the story. We'll be able to get more information as to what Nigerians should expect going forward.
Thank you very much, Said Fuhad. Time check is 7:54 a.m. It's still trends in the papers. Let's look through the major story on the front page of our papers now. We are live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM, so you can drop your comments even as the show progresses. Okay, and we'll take them by the time we move on to Mainland Focus. The major headline on the front page of the Punch reads: NNPC ties Dangote petrol price to forex rates. how that works. We have a rider here that says NNPC begins lifting Dangote refinery petrol on September 15th. Vessels begin offloading and queues worsen. So what we have in the reports now is that as Nigerians are eagerly awaiting the release of petrol from Dangote refinery, the NNPCL says it will lift the product from September 15. But there are factors that have been outlined that will determine its price. One, foreign exchange rates and market forces, they say, would influence the cost of petrol, stressing that the market had been deregulated. We're going to come to deregulation because maybe I don't understand English. I don't know, but we'll come to that. This is as oil marketers declared on Thursday that about 2,000 tankers are still awaiting to load the products at various depots of NNPC in Lagos, Warri, Port Harcourt. Also, the federal government has declared that there was going to be a massive supply of petrol this weekend, but they have ruled out price fixing of PMS. Operators are saying that the government might have to put an end to subsidy, going by its latest position on the pricing of PMS. I hope we are getting the words that are coming out from this report here now. NNPC has said foreign exchange illiquidity has been a significant factor that's influencing the fluctuation in prices of petrol, which are governed by unrestricted free market forces, which are provided by the Petroleum Industry Act. But then, the executive vice chairman of downstream NNPC, Adedapo Segun, said that the current fuel scarcity was expected to subside in a few days. More stations are recalibrating and they'll soon get petrol. Fuad, NNPC is saying the market has been deregulated, meaning that petrol prices are now determined by market forces rather than by the government or NNPC. But
that's yeah. I'm with you, Sandra. Please go on.
Okay, but please do well to correct me. But Dangote has said that. Okay, no. Well, let's start with bilateral monopoly. NNPC is the sole off-taker from Dangote now, and they are the only ones that can purchase from Dangote and then sell downstream. So, to Dangote also saying that the price of his petrol is going to be determined by FEC, that's Federal Executive Council, which is government now, and here we are. NNPC said, "Oh no, the market has been deregulated." So, who are the market forces, and how exactly is price fixing coming in this particular situation?
And these guys are going to mess with our brains. They are going to make us look like fools. And basically, they are the fools here, and we are not really. Because if you make statements that are contradictory, if you continue to make statements that really don't make any sense, if you make statements that constantly shows that you are just a bloody liar, then you understand some of these things. Remember that when this whole subsidy is gone thing came up, they talked about these same market forces. And I can remember.
Correct.
That was what they said, that market forces will now determine prices and all of that. But when we discovered that, look, there are no market forces anywhere. You guys are still the ones deciding what is going on in the sector. It's still a form of monopoly, because if it's about market forces, we have a situation where every player goes in and all of that. We talked about the fact that, yes, in trying to pretend that you've deregulated the market, you are giving licenses to people to bring in these products. But the reality is that, look, none of them have been able to access Forex, to have been able to bring these products. So you still are the only ones that is able to source for Forex because you are selling crude and able to bring in the product. And you've been fixing pricing. They kept denying it, Sandra. Still talking about an unavailable market force. We said it at that time that there's no market force anywhere, because you guys are still a major determinant of how these prices of how petroleum products are priced. And we lived with that until recently, when they now agree to the fact that subsidy is actually in existence in a different form. And then, of course, they opened up to say that, look, there's a weighted average rate they are using when it comes to Forex for importation, and that it was after the price of what Nigerians should have been paying. So if that is the situation, why come up with the fact that you deregulated the market again, Sandra? Is it that people are not ashamed to lie, or should we begin to even question their qualification and level of education, or is it that we don't know what we are saying here, Sandra? We move past that only for you to declare profit, and then 2-3 days after,
say you're owing.
You are now the same owing that you have denied in your statement before. you now owned up to the fact that you are owing about $6.8 billion and you can't pay. And then the scarcity happened, artificial or not. The Nigerians have been going through the suffering. And then the same Dangote refinery you condemned, you said is looking for monopoly, blah, 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 his product is inferior, blah. At the end of the day, okay, you said you've been giving him crude oil. Now they've told us they supplied about 30 million barrels of crude oil to Dangote refinery. What he has used to pay, we don't know, because I don't think the Naira thing has come into play yet. Because the committee is still sitting to implement that. So how Dangote paid for the crude oil, we still don't know. Whether it was the premium price it was paying before. Because when they tell you we supply, we need to ask ourselves the question, have we started the implementation of crude oil to Dangote in Naira? Or it is still the same old story of how you have to pay extra, Sandra, if you remember, to get crude locally. So that's also one conversation that these guys are not telling us. And then even if Dangote, Sandra, is going to buy this thing in Naira, yes, the dollar factor in terms of having to look for dollars to pay will be off the table. But the calculation will still be done in dollars, Sandra. That's what Nigerians should pay attention to. So if you have a situation like this, that the Naira is performing poorly against the dollar, yes, you're going to pay in Naira because, of course, the pressure on forex will be out of it. But the price is still going to be a problem because it's going to be calculated in dollars. So if it is $70, $80 per barrel, Sandra, just times it by 1,650. The only thing is that you're not going to be looking for dollars to pay, you'll be paying in Naira. But at the calculation of your own dollar rate. So the poor performance of the Naira against the dollar is a problem. And that's where the conversation of floating the Naira has come into play. You can now see that the NNPC is talking about dollar liquidity. So again, when we talk about these twin policies of the government, removing subsidy and floating the Naira the way they did without any clear plans and understanding of how to deal with the effect, this is exactly what we are talking about.
Well, according
yes, I'm with you.
Mr. Shegun, who is the downstream executive of NNPC, he went further to say quite a lot. I mean, he said the pump price today is not market reflective. That's what he said.
So what are they telling you, Sandra? That you are supposed to be paying more. So even the 888, 858 or 900 or 1,000
is not market
that you may be paying wherever you are, it's still not market reality. What you are supposed to pay.
Thank you.
How they should pay more. That's what he's telling Nigerians.
That's what
Let's
he's saying.
pay attention.
He's saying that the pump price today, I'm quoting him, he's saying the pump price today is not market reflective. NNPCL is the sole importer of PMS, which is abnormal.
And it's a regulated market.
So we should be coming to a situation where the free market determines prices, stressing that market forces should drive fuel prices rather than any single entity. He's a part of NNPC, by the way. Anyways,
of course, the retail sector.
Yes, he went further to clarify that NNPC's role as sole importer of petrol was not a deliberate decision, but it was a response to market conditions.
What condition?
That's why he said, and I quote, "Let me put it in proper perspective. NNPC is not a regulator. We didn't put ourselves in the position of sole importer. We don't determine who plays in the market. We decided to come in when others reduced their participation." I'm stopping here, Fuhad. I'm stopping here.
You sure you see the problem, Sandra?
I'm not.
You sure you see? You are done, right? You are tired.
No, I'm stopping there. That's all.
You see that you want to mess with our brains here. You are not a regulator. You didn't put yourself to be the sole importer. It's when people thought that you now stepped in, blah, blah, blah.
So
what led us to this situation?
Did others deliberately reduce their participation?
They created a framework that will make others not even participate. They knew what they were doing. You created a structure that will make it extremely difficult for others to participate. You are now saying that you didn't put yourself in the position to monopolize. And you are still talking about the deregulated market, where in reality there's a monopoly in terms of supply and importation of the product.
Anyways,
what are we talking about here now, Sandra?
Mr. Shegun, finalized.
This is interesting, Mr. Shegun.
Yes, this is very, very interesting, Mr.
You know, we used to deal with Shona before, and this one just came out from nowhere now.
No, he's the executive director, NNPC downstream. He finalized things. He said market conditions need to be perfect, and there needs to be forex liquidity. I don't know who he's talking to, but it's going to be very, very fine. Anyways, this is 4 minutes past 8. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. The information we're getting now is that they have supplied 30 million barrels to Dangote so far, 6.3 million this month, and they will still supply another 11.3 million in October, saying that it will be delivered in 7 cargoes. And but expressed concern is just really concerned about the current pump price, that it is not reflecting market realities. I don't know if maybe this is a backdated statement. I don't know. Maybe it was pre.
He was saying you should get you. And it was on TV, Sandra.
It was on Arise, yes.
So it's not anything backdated.
Are you sure? I'm just trying to rationalize.
Sandra, wait, Sandra. You've talked about importation. They didn't put themselves in position to monopolize. Others were not able to play, so they had to step in. Okay, how did they suddenly jump into this situation again? Where Dangote had produced his PMS, I'm sure that the crude oil supply to him was not for free. He paid for it. How he paid, nobody is telling us. But how did they also jump into the situation where they are going to be the sole off-takers? And they are now the ones explaining Dangote's price to us, or pricing, anticipated pricing to us. Why are they the ones explaining the anticipated pricing of Dangote PMS to us, Sandra? Why are they the ones?
They are not a regulator. They are part of
the
not market players.
What? Which player?
They're a player.
So
they're not a regulator.
You see one thing about lies, Sandra. You lie and you continue to have to lie. If with one lie, you have to come up with 10 other lies. And you get, there's a dangerous trend when it comes to lying. You start to even believe your own lies. Powerful and it's making sense. You lie to the point where you lie to yourself and start to believe your own lies. At that point, it becomes extremely ridiculous, like we are hearing now.
It's all right. It's okay. Well, still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, this is Mainland 98.3 FM. You're listening to Trends in the Papers. We have here on the front page of the Punch, terrorism financing. The police is to quiz Ajayro on September 25. So that conversation goes on. The story is on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on from that, we also have here reps back ban on under 18 SSC UTME candidates. So the recent decision by the federal government to peg the minimum age for candidates that are sitting for senior school certificate examination, because the House of Reps Committee on Basic Education, they are supporting that particular move.
Why they are doing that? The minister has already backtracked, saying that, look, they might be looking at gifted children, probably come up with a framework to accommodate gifted children to write the exams before 18. Again, we've offered our own solutions, and we have said that, look, it's a very simple thing. Yes, you can begin to look at 18 years for children to go into the university.
Yeah.
But look, don't take the year. But let them write the exams, both exams, if they can pass. And then, of course, we now come up with a framework to ensure that you are 18, you are not admitted into the university for maybe some several reasons. But that means that JAMB should not expire in 1 year. It should be valid for more than 1 year. If you pass your JAMB, at least it should be valid for 2, 3, or even 4 years. Why is it just every year that you... Look, even if you pass JAMB now, Sarah, you are not admitted. It means you have to write it again.
You have to write it again. It expires.
It's wrong. Even standardized exams all over the world, there's none that is valid for only 1 year.
The SAT that they use in America for getting into higher institutions, I think it's about 3 to 5 years or so. I think about.
So why is JAMB every year? Valid for only 1 year. Those are some of the conversations, and I'm not surprised that these House of Reps guys don't even understand what they are saying. Again, they are detached from reality. They just come up. While they are issuing the statement, the minister has already backtracked, talking about gifted children, and now they are going to come with a framework to allow them to write the exam before they are 18.
Well, the story is on page 11 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on from that particular report, we also have here, still on the front page of the Punch, just above the masthead of the Punch, 63 TCN towers destroyed in 8 months. That's transmission company. That's the power sector now, and that's coming from the federal government. That story is on page 19.
The grid that is not strong enough, people are still sabotaging it.
Yeah.
The grid that is epileptic. There are people grid that we are still hoping to strengthen.
We're going through a lot.
For better performance, people are still... No, it's just... There are people that have said that, look, this damaging of our transmission line Hope it's not internal sabotage. Remember that we reviewed a story where it is said that because there are some people making money from the maintenance of this damaged facility, we could be looking at a situation of internal sabotage. Really, from some of these facilities. So we need to dig into it. What are the guys damaging these things? Hope it's not what the report has said, that look, we need to look inwards to. It could be some form of internal sabotage because of, you have to fix and put in money again.
Well, the story is on page 19. Moving further, still on the front page of the Punch, we also have here massive flooding to hit 7 states soon, says government. So the federal government has predicted a 5-day rainfall that may lead to flooding in about 21 states and about 123 locations. And he also listed the 7 states that will be severely affected: Benue, Kogi, Anambra, Delta, Imo, Rivers, and Bayelsa states. And the flood prediction was obtained from the Office of the National Flood Early Warning System Center of the Federal Ministry of Environment, who also warned communities downstream of River Benue are to take caution. So I'm just going to leave. I hope that the SEMA of different states, or these respective states already are putting things in place to ensure that this doesn't, the
late rains are coming to Sandra. The late year rains are coming. Because we've had the August break now, we're in September now, the cloud is gathering. And I'm sure in the next 1 or 2 weeks, you might begin to see heavy rains again towards October, part of November. And already, most of the dams are filled up. So with more rains now, there might be need to release some of the water from the dam. Lagdo Dam particularly comes to mind, Sandra. It's the one in Cameroon. And so apart from rising levels of some of our rivers and what have you, dams are also going to flood most of these places. That happened, I think, about 2 years ago. So I think this is the time for our state governors. I think they got some ecological funds recently from the federal government. They need to deploy those monies, not to go and pocket them or convert them into dollars and keep somewhere. This is the time to use the money to help people look at vulnerable communities and begin to put things in place. Like you said, we have emergency response units in different states. This is the time to activate them. While we begin to look at a more sustainable solution to the problem.
Thank you very much, Said Fuhad. Let's move on now, but still on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Finally, we have here ICPC grills Ngige over NSITF contracts, and that story is on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. Just a quick background to that particular report. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission grilled former Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, regarding contract irregularities and job racketeering at the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund during his tenure. And they had previously summoned several top officials of the NSITF for questioning regarding a certain 47 million naira gratuity that was paid to the immediate MD, Mrs. Maureen Alogwa, while she was still in office. And it was gathered that the former minister spent over 5 hours with LCPC, but then is responding to the invitation. They're looking into basically award of contracts and job racketeering, among others, whilst it was Minister of Labour. Stories on page 14.
Well,
yes.
NSITM is always problematic. The former DG too had issues.
Yes.
Soft-spoken, Queen's English speaking man. We used to play soundbite. The northern guy. I've forgotten his name now. Yeah, Professor Yusuf. You had also a previous problem when he was in charge of the NSITM. I don't know. There's something wrong with that.
Well, something wrong with NSITF, something wrong with humanitarian affairs, something wrong with poverty alleviation. So there's so many things that we need to dig deeper into. Let's move on now to the Guardian newspaper. Yeah. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. It's 14 minutes past 8. And the major headline on the front page of the Guardian reads, skilled workforce. Construction sites follow as reverse migration and devaluation hit real estate. And that story is on pages 4 and 5 of the Okay, yes. It's on page 5 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Fuad, let's talk about, building contractors, quality of materials that they use in building nowadays, and why buildings don't last as long as, times past. Because, you go to some places like Ikoyi, you go to some places in Ijebu, you see buildings that are almost 100 years old. And then when you hear buildings collapsing in recent times, you hear buildings that were just built probably, 2 years ago, 13 months ago or something. So what do you think has been the major issue at construction sites? Is it the availability of skilled workforce, or it's just people no longer pay attention to quality?
No, not so much of workforce. I think it's about paying attention, and then the fact that a lot of developers, because of the economy, are doing all manner of things, really, cutting corners, reducing quality. And when you do that, really, especially for high-density buildings, Sandra, with low-density buildings, you can get away with it. Maybe a few cracks here and there. You might have as a problem with the low-density building. But if you are going to go 3, 4, 5 multiple floors, if you cut corners, you are going to kill people. And that's why it's very, very important that people, pay attention to these things. That's also why we call out the regulators, too. You can't have stations where, buildings are coming down, killing people. You are not the only ones that go high-rise. How many high-rise buildings do we even have in Nigeria? There are countries that basically do high-rise, but because they maintain standards, they keep to what the standard is, they don't cut corners, they don't have buildings collapsing and killing people, and while construction is going on. So it's a major problem, really, for our regulators to deal with. It's just when you have these things fail, it has to be construction error that most likely will come from the fact that, look, people have refused to do the right thing. If you do the right thing, buildings cannot come down. I'm telling you, Sandra. But on this particular story,
yes, it's
there's
power shortage.
Look, the what's it called? The word here is reverse migration. And if you read the story very well, Sandra, what they are saying is that, look, most of our skilled force, most of the labor forces that come when it comes to construction in Nigeria come from a neighboring country, Benin Republic to be precise, and Togo. But do you know that what we have now with the value of our currency, 1,000 naira now, Sandra, 1,000 naira now, at best would give you, I think, about 600 sefa. That's Benin Republic currency. So, and the story is well written. So the guys, the bricklayers, the tilers that used to come from Benin, work in Nigeria, it doesn't make any sense. The artisans that will come here and work because our naira was stronger than their own currency, and there's a lot of jobs to do here. But what are they coming to do now when their own currency is now stronger than our own money?
Yes, that's what the report is saying. Skilled manpower shortage is increasingly hurting the country's construction sector, with most young people undergoing vocational and technical education seeing no future in working as artisans in the country. The departure of aging artisans, the absence of agile replacements leaving the sector. The lacuna is further widened by the reverse migration embarked upon by foreign artisans in the wake of the naira losing its value. With the prospect of a full-blown crisis looming, there is a compelling need for the government to urgently audit the country's skill development needs, catalog skill types, address the skills gap, promote the development of a highly skilled workforce in order to save that particular sector. Say, for example,
where are the technical schools?
We talked about this thing, some months ago as regards, why a lot of people are focusing on maybe the universities, what happened to the polytechnics, what happened to the monotechnics, what happened to the technical colleges, and whatnot. A lot of people look down on some of these jobs. It's not where you have to wear suits and all of that. But just to buttress what you have mentioned as regards the revised migration conversation, Mubarak Shehu is a building and civil engineering contractor who used to have a highly skilled mason from Cotonou, popularly called Agbojobe Alafia. So Ewojokwe in his employ, he had 12 other foreign artisans who worked with him.
He will bring them in to work with him, yes.
And for these artisans, it was a privilege to work in Nigeria, as they were the envy of
At
friends
that time.
at that time, because they would
Just
go
about a
home
year ago, it's not anything too far.
It's not too far, just a year ago. And they will go home every December. They will showcase large sums of money they've earned while working in Nigeria, and then they will come back mid-January, mid-February. They will continue working, especially.
Start working again, yeah.
But however, unfortunately, thus far, those things have been suspended, because now they have to stay back in their country to practice their trade due to improvement in their own currency as against the inflation and depreciating value of our own naira here. And now local contractors are stranded. So with this strange scenario, the era of foreign artisans proliferation in the country is fading away, and the hope of contractors now rests on a band of aging skilled artisans, because we do not have young people who are interested in this line of work.
A lot of them are doing Yahoo actually. They're not interested.
No.
Some of them, after even learning, just drop the work and start to do
they just
Yahoo.
It's to them it's condescending.
Yeah, look, up till tomorrow, they'll tell you the best pilots that work in Nigeria are still from Cotonou and Togo.
Yes.
You go and ask the guys in the construction sector. They will tell you the best medicine are still the guys that are coming from this West African country, because when it comes to skilled labor and training and what have you, you have to probably work with the old guys who are aging. That's what the report is saying, and that's just the fact. The younger ones, if they plaster a house for you, Sandra, I'm telling you, you know, this is a sector I know very well. So it's a problem, and the guys are not coming again, because why would they come? Their own currency now has more value than your own currency. So it's even a problem now for construction guys. So it's a multiple level of problems now in the construction sector. So you have poorly built houses, you have low quality houses, problem of getting quality artisans. The real estate sector also going through tough times. That's what the story is telling you, Sandra.
Serious tough times. But those days they used to have, people that used to co-share in the hand of all of these artisans. Let's
do a practical, Sandra. I think we have 3-4 buildings away. We have a mechanic yard, right? Mechanic yard workshop just very close to us. Go there and see whether you have any artisans learning anything there. It is your gas with maybe one artisan that you find there. Or your gas alone just doing the job alone. In those days, people come back from school, they are put into those shops to learn. You have sometimes the mechanic yard, you have to up to 20 people, small children, learning. You can't find that again. They are on the internet, TikTok, looking. Some of them, they say they are content creators of doing Yahoo practically, because, also here, the dignity that comes with labor has been completely eroded. That thinking is no longer in existence. It is just make money. Anyhow you make the money, we celebrate you. Nobody talks about dignity of labor. Nobody talks about hard work again. They even mock the people that are working hard. Parents celebrate Yahoo. Nobody cares. It's a failed situation, really. We are all left in the hands of God and hoping that things will get back to normality.
All right. Thank you very much, Said Fuhad. Time is fast spent. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, and you're on to Trends in the Papers. We're looking through major stories on the front pages of our papers. We're currently on the front page of The Guardian, and that's the major headline: skilled workforce. The fact that construction sites follow as reverse migration and devaluation has hit the real estate sector. Stories on pages 4 and 5 of The Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, still on the front page here, we have concerns as Naira weakens to 1,639 Naira per dollar amid fuel price hikes. So help us God. And that is on page 18 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have here Nigerians bleeding from economic policies. YCE, NBA doctors tell Tinubu, and that is on page 6. Article faults Tinubu's focus on protesters above security reforms. That's on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Very quickly, what we have is former presidential candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, has criticized Bola Tinubu's administration for imposing death sentences on harmless protesters amid the ongoing violence in northern Nigeria. Atiku stated that despite the tragic bloodshed in Yobe, speaking of Yobe, Fuad, just many days ago, we talked about the massacre that happened in Mafa in Yobe. We're getting reports now that Boko Haram has hit Yobe again. That story is on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. I can get more details of that. But despite the tragic bloodshed in Yobe, according to Atiku, which had claimed numerous lives and the widespread destruction across several villages in Katsina, Sokoto, and other towns in the northwest and north central, the government appeared to remain detached and preoccupied with inconsequential matters. Fuad.
Inconsequential matters.
Yes. Do you agree with Alhaji Atiku?
Again, of course, the conversation will come like it's all politics, it's just opposition when he was there. But look, you can't force some of these statements, no matter how you try to rationalize it. Look at the energy on protest. The way our security forces have put it on their head, all of the concerted effort, the tracking of accounts, the arrest, the treason that is now thrown at everybody, the energy, the concerted effort, almost on a daily basis, they were issuing statements upon statements, the police, the DSS, the army, it was a joint press briefing on protest. But look at the report of daily killings of Nigerians. That's what Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is saying. And look, this is like saving shadows. The real problem is there for you to solve. This energy you are putting on protesters, it would have been better if you put it on securing the lives and properties of Nigerians who are daily murdered in their homes by these marauding bandits and killers who are running free. So, look, and I'll say it again, like I think we're saying about this issue of charging protesters for treason. Professor Olusegun is a friend of the president. He told him, that Nigerians cannot be demanding bread from you, and you'll be giving them bullets. I think that's enough for the president to take from. That's one advice I think you should listen to. These people are basically demanding for bread. These are all, Sandra. Well, go on social media and see how people are lamenting about the conditions of the country. People just played it. 𝐿4 Where is the Fᴏᴜ now, Sandra? In all of this. And even gave prices. 𝐿4 200. We are already shooting 1,002, 1,003 in different parts of the country. So where is the Fᴏᴜ now?
Well, said quite a lot. You can get more details on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on, still on the front page of the Guardian, we also have here, federal government backtracks, may lift age restriction for WAEC and SSC exams. That's on page 7. Just as you mentioned earlier on, the story is on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper, where we have here the federal government. Oh yes, there are indications that the federal government may rescind its decision on age restrictions for West African Senior School Certificate Examination (WASC) and Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination (SSCE). And the decision followed widespread outrage that trailed that particular announcement. So Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, hinted at the possibility of the exemption exemption of exceptionally intelligent students below the age of 18 might be allowed to take these exams. That's according to Professor.
How you now determine intelligent students? That becomes another problem.
Okay, it's all right.
I think the only way to determine intelligence is to let them right. If they pass, fine. If they fail, fine.
Exactly.
Just let them right. If they pass, so be it. If they fail, well, to deal with the fact that they still have to write. Because to now determine who is intelligent or not, that would be another problem. And there are no manner of things will now also come into that. Sandra, there was a time I wrote an exam in this country. It was called the exam for gifted children. Then I think primary school going to secondary school. We wrote the exam, we didn't see any result. Whether we failed or passed, the result did not come.
All right. That's all we can take from the front page of the Guardian newspaper. What we have now is 28 minutes past 8, so we have a few minutes left to go on the show. It is still Mainland 98.3 FM. Trends in the Papers is the show, and we're on the front page of Vanguard now. The major headline there reads, Reps, NBA, PDP, others demand petrol price hike reversal. And what we have as riders to that story, federal government not fixing petrol prices, says Minister. PMS prices determined by free market forces, says NNPC. Further hike looms as NNPC says 897 naira per litre is not market reflective. Federal government economical with truth on local refining, fuel subsidy and fuel price, says NECA. That's all right. So the story is on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. Yes, I'm with you. Side forward.
No, NECA is basically just buttressing what we said, all true. And I like the fact that Vanguard newspaper, their riders details what we are dealing with. You know, every rider and an implication to what we are talking about.
Right. So,
well captured.
Yes. So what we have here is that the Executive Director of Nigeria Mainstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, Kalu Okoha, stated after meeting with the Vice President, Lokpobiri. Ainiki Lokpobiri is the Minister of State. Anyways, I think they've put everything together. Yeah. They've lumped it together. We were summoned by the Vice President, who was directed by Mr. President to summon the meeting, and we have been with him to brief him about the what's going on across the country. And what is important is for us to convey to Nigerians that the president is empathetic about what is going on in the country. He's concerned about the hardship, and he has directed the vice president to call the meeting for us to reflect. And what's important is that products are available, and we believe that between now and the weekend there will be availability of products. The price could be high in some areas, much higher in some other locations, but we believe that by the time there is availability of products, the price itself will stabilize. But what is important is that government is not fixing prices. This sector is deregulated, and we believe that with availability of products, the price will find its level. The summary is that the president is empathetic about what's going on, and that's why he has directed that they have a meeting. There is enough products to meet the demands, and there should be no panic buying. I don't know about that, and we should also believe that Nigerians need to know that the government is not fixing prices. But then NNPCL stated that foreign exchange, that's forex illiquidity, has been a significant factor influencing fluctuation in prices of petrol, which are governed by unrestricted free market forces. I'm ending there, and that's what we take as regards that particular story. It's on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. It's just a lot of back and forth and a lot of contradictory statements from the regulators, from NNPC, from the federal government. The story is on page 5 of Vanguard. We also have just above the masthead of Vanguard, uncertainty surrounds petrol supply from Dangote amid ongoing scarcity. That's on page 4 of Vanguard. Insecurity, farmer herders clash, depress agri sector GDP, and that's on page 19 of Vanguard newspaper. That's a wrap for Trends in the Papers for this morning. Coming up next is Mainland Focus. So please stay with us. Thank you very much, Fuhad, for your time. Please be on standby.